So it's been pretty hectic around here the last several weeks, and I've gotten behind on maintenance in more ways than one. The yard is a mess, and I've got some maintenance issues on my Malibu and Vicky's El Camino.
And here we are with our local fat guy problem.
The seat in my Malibu has been jammed in position and can't be adjusted, so if any of the girls wanted to drive it, they likely can't reach the pedals. So Bucko and Tanner are going to work on that while I run to town in Vicky's El Camino. Billy had mentioned to me that the air conditioning wasn't working very well after he borrowed it the other day, so I figured I'd kill two birds with one stone and test drive the El Camino while I make a trip into Hebron to pick up a new weed eater. A friend of mine manages Bowman Power Equipment, where they sell and service Skag zero-turn mowers, and my cousin Avery actually works in the service department. I need a weed whacker, and I want one with a damn carburetor. I don't want no electric piece.
I do happen to have multiple carbureted options.
And just like that, my buddy Tori fires up his best sales speech.
All right, so best head in the market.
Best head in the market.
Absolute best head in the market is the Echo Speed Feed.
Tori explains to me how easy this thing is to wind new string into, but my main concern is that it makes noise, blows smoke, and doesn't have some Green New Deal fuel filler neck that makes it nearly impossible to put gasoline in it. After I paid for my weed eater, I jumped back in the El Camino and headed back to the shop, where Buckwheat and Tanner have the seat fixed for the Malibu. By the time I got back to the shop, Bucko and Tanner had the seat fixed, but the El Camino definitely has a problem with the air conditioning. But at least it's comfortable in the shop, where Wyatt's in there learning how to drive, walk, and communicate with his mother. Meanwhile, up at the body shop, everyone's dealing with the heat as best they can. They've been busy working on the 64 Impala, which is almost ready to be picked up. They've also been working hard on that blue Barracuda, which has taken Nikki a little extra time to cut and buff due to the heat and humidity when it was painted. Unfortunately, the air conditioning up at the shop has conked out, and despite the fact that it was 96 degrees in there, they've managed to get a substantial amount of work done on my Monte Carlo. The new Glass Tech bolt-on hood has been fitted, the new hood pins have been installed, and they've got the back of the hood trimmed up for clearance with the factory wiper arms. Anyway, after they had the hood fitted, the next step is to bring it in the paint booth and shoot the hood and the rest of the front end pieces with high-build epoxy primer to prepare them for paint later this week. Meanwhile, back at the house, I was busy trying to get my yard under control and ridding the driveway of weeds. And of course, we're still working on the cars. Although the Malibu's in pretty good shape, there's still a handful of things we need to get taken care of on Allison's Dart, as well as Billy's 55 Chevy. Due to the fact that it's so hot, we may stay home this weekend and race at trails. So one of the things we need to do to the 55 to get it ready is to replace the steering wheel and move the trans brake button from the shifter for more consistent reaction times. It was Friday evening by the time we had the cars ready to go racing, and that's when Billy got invited to a cash days on the street where we could race in the cool night air instead of in the heat of the day. We were out all night and didn't get back to the house until after sunup, and all the street race action has already been uploaded to Street Racing Channel. So for right now, we're going to fast forward from Saturday morning to Saturday night. Since we were out all night street racing, we elected to sleep during the heat of the day and come down to the track to watch the Night of Thunder show with jet cars at National Trails. The highlight of the show was the jet-powered semi they call Bone Shaker. Unfortunately, the heat from the weather and from the jet cars would be the least of our worries this weekend. On Sunday morning, Billy and Molly woke up and decided to go out to the shop to work on her Supra. They planned to drain and drop the fuel tank out of the car to drill a hole in the bottom of the tank for a fuel fitting. The tank itself is plastic, but unfortunately the fumes in the tank lit from a spark created inside the electric drill motor itself.
So this is what it looks like now. It's probably going to get a lot worse, but it will get better. So this is just, yeah. We're gonna go to the burn unit and they're gonna get me cleaned up. Probably gonna have to cut my hair a little bit shorter. Yeah, hopefully I'm not in there too long so I can get back to work.
Vicky rushed Billy to the burn unit at the Ohio State University Hospital in Columbus, where I had received treatment after being burned in a gas line fire 10 years ago. Molly and Wyatt went along with him and planned to stay with him for the duration of his treatment, which, as you're about to see, was very painful.
What do you have to say?
Don't drill into a fuel tank with an electric drill and make sure it's fumigated or pour water in it or something. I mean, I honestly didn't think it would light, but obviously it did.
It did.
So.
The most painful part of burn treatment is when the nurses have to scrub the dead skin and clean the wounds to keep them from getting infected. The good news is that Billy's eyes and lungs survived the fire, but his right wrist was burned all the way around, which could lead to swelling and blood circulation issues with his right hand. After the nurses finished cleaning all of his wounds, the decision was made by the doctor to keep Billy overnight for observations and to keep him on an IV for pain medication. The doctors plan to reevaluate his condition in the morning and possibly release him tomorrow afternoon. So Molly and the baby decided to stay at the hospital while Vicky went home to get some sleep and prepare to get back to work Monday morning. All right, good morning everybody. It is Monday. Billy should be getting out of the hospital this morning. They kept him overnight, of course, to keep for observation. They're worried about his right wrist. It was burnt all the way around, and they were concerned that if it swells up, it would cut off blood circulation to his fingers and his hand. So anyway, they kept him overnight for that, and from all indications, he should be released sometime today, I hope. Vicky's going to go pick him up. This morning I've got Tanner back at my shop, and he's working on the El Camino a little bit. All this heat that we've had here recently has just been unbearable, but I've noticed that driving the El Camino when it's that hot, the air conditioning seems to get warm after a while, and I noticed that it has a auxiliary transmission oil cooler that's mounted to the front of the air conditioning condenser, and I think it's causing some problems with the air conditioning. So I told him just to go ahead and take that auxiliary cooler off of it. It doesn't need it. So he's working on that back at the shop. Hopefully the Monte Carlo gets back this week. The kids at the body shop have been suffering from the heat too. Everybody has, but it was 93 degrees the other day when I was up there. It was 97 Friday when they called off. I think they left around 4:30 Friday afternoon. It was 97 degrees inside that shop. And, you know, unfortunately, they can't really work at night because if they paint during the nighttime hours, the bugs get in the paint. So, just everybody's struggling with the heat here lately. It's just been unbearable. I know that's probably sounds funny to everybody that lives down south, but up here, when it gets to be into the 90s, it's pretty hot for us with the humidity. So, I'm headed up to Bob's this morning to go see him. He's got a couple of small block Chevys we're getting ready to put on the dyno up there and do some testing. Both of them are 434 small block Chevy, 23 degree engines. They belong to customers, and they've been up there for quite a while. Unfortunately, we're at a standstill on Billy's big block because we're still waiting on pistons for it. And once the pistons come in, Bob can finish his big block. But in the time being, he's going to go ahead and work on these 434s and get them dynoed and get them out of the shop while we're waiting on parts. Hopefully Billy gets out of the hospital soon, and I don't know what kind of condition he's going to be in to race or work. Thankfully, we've got the air conditioning in the shop so he won't be sweating while he's trying to work in there. Obviously, everything's a little up in the air right now because I don't know what kind of shape he's going to be in once he gets home. I don't know if he's going to be able to get a helmet on his head to race anyway because his forehead's burnt so bad. I think they said it was 2nd degree burns on his forehead, on his arm. So everything's just kind of up in the air. It's hard to tell what we're going to do now as far as racing and where we're going and what we're going to be doing. Just have to go day by day and see how things go. It seems like you have one really good week or two really good weeks, and then everything just goes to shit and the wheels fall off. But that's life, you know. Unfortunately, when the kids got up that Sunday morning, I was still in bed asleep. I don't bounce back from all-night street racing like I used to. I typically try and keep a close eye on the kids and make sure they don't get hurt. But this time, I missed it. At this point, the best thing I can do is keep things moving for Billy at the machine shop to get his Nova back together as soon as possible. Right now, we're still waiting for new pistons, and until they come in, we can't finish honing the block or balancing the crankshaft, and we'll still have to check piston to valve clearance. So in the meantime, Bob's working on this 434 small block with a set of 245 AFR heads that should make really, really good power. It's got a pretty stout solid roller camshaft and a Dominator flange Super Victor intake manifold. So we're up here at the machine shop now, and the situation is this. Billy's engine's here in the home, and we're waiting on those pistons. As soon as we get those pistons, we want to put Billy's big block back together and put it on the dyno. But we've got these two 434s over here in the assembly room that we're getting ready to dyno. And Bob's afraid that as soon as he puts one of those engines on the dyno and finally gets it all set up and ready to go, that these pistons will come in. And as soon as the pistons come in, we'd have to, take the 434s back off the dyno to put Billy's big block on. So we're kind of in a holding pattern up here at the machine shop at the time being. While I'm up at the machine shop, Bucko and Tanner are staying plenty busy back home.
Well, I'm here looking at the El Camino. Steve's got the transmission cooler rerouted back to the radiator and got rid of the AutoZone transmission cooler crap. I'm running a test on the AC, and then Steve comes out and moves the car over, and I'm like, what's he doing? And now look, he's all spunky to work on something. It just so happens to be a Klingon.
Since Tanner has loaned Allison his 408 small block Chrysler, he wants to make sure that the shifter in the car is replaced as soon as possible.
Boy, you sure are moving right along with getting stuff done, Steve.
What I do.
Oh yeah?
Yep, what I do.
It wouldn't happen to be the fact that it's a damn Mopar, would it?
No.
Although Tanner removed the transmission oil cooler from the condenser on the front of the El Camino, the air conditioning still doesn't quite work like I think it should. So I told Buckwheat I'd like to install a fan on the front of the condenser to push air through it. And he told me he'd already discussed it with Mark and there's one in stock waiting on me at the parts store. Well, look who it is.
I told you should have got that coming.
Well,
What coming?
your fan.
He told me you already had it.
I said I could get it.
I called him and said, hold on until I get approval.
Approval.
That comes
Now we
from
need
you.
POs and stuff.
He's full of shit. When I say I want my air conditioning fixed, I mean I want my air conditioning fixed.
Now.
Yesterday, a month ago. So how long is it going to take to get this fan?
5 minutes. We got thing 2 on it.
Thing 2's on it?
Yeah, he's all over it.
I heard you're still having staffing problems.
Yeah, I am. It goes deeper than that.
No shit. What's going on with the staffing problems?
Lost privileges.
Lost privileges?
Yeah.
What privileges did you lose?
Stolen phone privileges.
I wonder why that happened.
If he was here, he'd know.
When are you going to get a video up?
It's coming.
Yeah, I'll bet it is.
Yeah, well, quit blowing shit up. And
It's my fault, Mark.
Yeah, I know.
It's my fault.
It's
I'm
all
blowing
your
up air conditionings. I asked him to check the air conditioning on the El
I
Camino.
didn't say anything about the air conditioning.
Well, that's what you're supposed to be working on today. Did you
Along
put
with
gauges
7
on it?
other things.
Did you put gauges on it?
Yes, I put gauges on it.
What is the high side pressure?
Above 150 when it's hot. When it's idle, it's normal. It's about between 1 and 150.
You got any gauges so I can just start doing this shit myself?
I do. I got a box right down there. It's
Please
got all
sell
your-
him some.
Oh,
Sell him gauges.
Always the salesman. Tyler's on the ball. You think I need those?
well, at least one.
You trying to learn AC is a disaster.
Trying to get you to do any of my air conditioning work is an equal disaster that I'm tired of dealing with.
That's like on a weekly basis. Fat guy problems.
Mark could tell that the tensions were rising between me and Bucko, so he dialed up Thing 2 to speed up the process.
Whatever. Just get on it. Make it happen. Get it. Go pull it. Make it happen. We need stuff. All right. All right. Bye. 5 minutes ago, my ass.
It's about damn time.
I have to wait on them people down there, all right?
We've been standing in here waiting on you for freaking 45 minutes.
Can only do so much.
That's what I heard.
I down there, I told them get my freaking parts pulled, and they finally went and did it.
Is that what you did?
Yep.
Oh my god.
Gotta tell them what to do
Oh,
sometimes.
sweet Jesus.
You think he's full of it?
I know he's full of it.
By that evening, Tanner had finished up installing the new shifter in Allison's Dart. He actually stayed late just to make sure that it got finished, and then took the Dart out for a test drive to make sure it's right. Good? Good, good, good. That's the first good news I've gotten today. Well, thank you for staying here today and working on this thing.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Kids are so busy, they don't really have time to work on this with that Dakota project they've got going on.
That was my whole idea with doing everything like this for her.
Right.
So they wouldn't have had time,
Right,
let alone the money really to put another motor together. So
right. Very good. Well, at least now it's all back together. If she decides she wants to go race or something, it's hard to tell what's going to happen now that Billy's kind of out of commission, you know what I mean?
yeah.
The kids may end up with a little bit of time to maybe go play if they've got time to, you know, get away from the Dakota project for a minute. But at least this thing's all back together. It's raceable. It's got a good shifter in it now.
Yep. I want to get the air fuel mixture down a little bit more, and then
You think it's still a little bit lean?
it's still around like 12.2 to 12.5 under full throttle. I'd
Okay.
like to see a little bit lower than that if we're going to hit it with nitrous.
Well, we can maybe take the air bleeds down in on the high side and see if we can't richen the fuel curve up towards the the top end of the RPM range. But
Okay.
it sounds really good.
It does. It really. This motor hasn't. It only had a 750 gas carburetor on it when I ran it, and this 850 with E85, it's letting it breathe. You can definitely tell it's making more horsepower.
Does it feel torquier?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine it would. All right. Well, it's back.
It's back.
So this brings us to Tuesday morning, and one of my associates is missing. Well, it's Tuesday. We're out here in the shop this morning. As you can see, Buckwheat is not here. He told me yesterday at the parts store he would be here bright and early. He's not here. So me and Tanner are out here. We're going to work on this El Camino for a little bit, trying to get this fan installed in front of this AC condenser. A little rough night for Junior last night. I didn't want to stick a phone in his face or a camera in his face as soon as he got here from the hospital because, well, nobody wants a phone stuck in their face right after they've been burned.
You would think that nobody would want a phone shoved in their face after they burn themselves, but Bucko sure as shit did it to me.
Yeah. Bucko did it. He doesn't care about anything. He just films everything.
I had my arm wrapped up in wet paper towels, and he comes out like, "What the hell did you do?"
After a text message or two, Buckwheat rousted himself out of bed and graced us with his presence. What do you got in your hand there? What time did you say you were going to be here yesterday?
Yeah, early.
And what time is it?
Not early.
So I was just telling all the peoples that Billy had a rough night last night.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, and I told everybody that when he came home, I didn't feel like it was a good idea to shove a camera in his face when he just came home from the hospital, after he'd been burned. But Tanner remembers that somebody here actually did that to him. Do you remember who that might have been? In case you haven't noticed, Tanner doesn't exactly enjoy working alongside Mr. Buckwheat.
You're gonna have to take a lot of stuff off just to get to what he's trying to do.
Well, no, it's called work.
My brother has always had a way of taking a 10-minute job and turning it into a week-long project, and he's very particular about his half-assery. Does the duct tape stay?
No, that's temporary.
After Bucko got the fan mounted, he disappeared for 2.5 hours looking for soldering iron tips. I don't have all day or all week to wait on Bucko to finish this, so me and Tanner finished the wiring up and pulled it outside to see if it's actually fixed or not. And Buckwheat showed up just in time. It's already done.
Cobbled it together, didn't it?
Cobbled it? Cobbled it? What in the ever-living are you trying to accomplish with that soldering station?
Burned up all my tips on your drones.
We're going to the body shop. This thing's done.
Work?
Yeah, feel in here.
Who told you?
What?
Told you.
Told me. Told me? I'm the one that had the freaking transmission cooler removed off of it, and I said I think it needs a fan. I told you that.
You said it needed charged.
I said it might need charged.
That's why you keep asking what the gauges were reading.
Yeah, I want to know what the gauges were reading, but Tanner says you never even hooked the gauges up.
Not in front of him, no.
Let's
He
go to the
went back
body
out in the
shop.
garage, started doing
Oh,
it.
blah, 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 bullshit. All right, so if you're keeping track, we've now removed the transmission oil cooler from the front of the condenser, which did actually make an improvement. And then we've installed a 12-volt fan to improve airflow through the condenser during stop-and-go traffic, which also made a noticeable improvement. But once you get the El Camino out on the highway and get it up over 55 or 60 miles an hour, the air conditioning slowly gets warm. However, when I stopped to put gas in it, the air conditioning got cold again. So the problem I'm fighting with the air conditioning doesn't seem to be an airflow through the condenser problem, but we'll get back to that in a minute. When we got up to House of Pearls, Nikki led us inside, and Tanner began drooling all over that Barracuda they've been working on. At this point, Nikki's 2 or 3 days in to cutting and buffing on it, and I'd say that the results speak for themselves. While Nikki continues to work on the Barracuda, the guys in the back of the shop are busy working on metal fabrication on a Mustang, Mom and Dad's 55 Chevy, and a Chevelle that they've just taken in. But Paul's been busy back in the paint booth, and that is where my Monte Carlo's located.
Obviously will come out with what's good.
Wow, looks nice.
It turned out pretty good. So all that time.
Glass hood? Are you serious?
Yeah.
That looks like a steel hood.
We blocked it a lot. So, and it was I did 2 rounds of high built epoxy and blocked that too. So it's real nice. Especially after wet sand, so it turned out quite good.
Oh, you painted this separate?
Yep.
Cut that and made that fit this bumper.
That's crazy.
It looks like it was made that way, right?
Oh yeah.
It fits pretty good.
Oh yeah, I know it does.
This looks crazy.
Dude, this thing's gonna look sick.
Dude, I love this hood.
Do you?
Yeah.
The bubble on the hood is
Especially compared to a normal cow hood, I love the bubble.
See, that was originally a 5-inch hood, and I asked them to cut it down to a 4, because this was a custom-made one-off hood. Like, you can call and order whatever you want at Glass Tech, but this was a custom, just exactly what I ordered. Typically, that Sunoco scoop would be 5 inches tall, but I didn't want it that tall.
Well, I like that. That's perfect. Cool.
Badass.
Not bad.
Good morning, Miss Addie.
Good morning.
You're here helping fold, and I want to record your reaction to Beavis.
Fire! Yeah, hot, yeah.
Doesn't he look handsome? How are you doing?
pretty good for the circumstances, I think.
You look like hell.
It's getting better.
Jesus. Oh my Lord. If that's better, how bad was it?
It kind of blew my hairline back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the hairline will grow back on the one side, but
It will.
It will.
It's gonna take some time.
It will.
if not, we'll just shave it bald. I
There
don't
you
have
go.
to get built
Oh,
like Vin Diesel.
yeah. So you're here helping today, doing shipping?
Yep.
Good.
Right, you
Thank
can't
you
be
very
alone.
much, because Tommy and Allison are very busy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Billy's busy doing Billy things. And
I'm busy.
Yeah, you're busy working. And I got to take a cherry picker up to House of Pearls because they need a spare cherry picker to help hold up both sides of the 55 Chevy when they do the quarters. So I've got it loaded up in the truck, and I'm going to head that way. And they've got Bob's top done for his Corvette. So I'm going to go pick that up and bring that stuff back.
Sounds like a
And
plan.
we'll see if somebody can stay out of trouble. When I was up at the body shop yesterday, Paul asked me if I had a spare cherry picker that they could borrow. And since I do have one, he told me he would have Bob's top ready for his Corvette so I could drop off the cherry picker and pick up the top. So I backed up to the door, and the guys came out to help me unload the cherry picker, which they need to use to hold up the back of the 55 Chevy. And that's when I got to see the Monte Carlo out of the paint booth for the first time. The hood looks absolutely gorgeous. The rest of it looks just as nice. Since the Monte Carlo and Bob's Corvette are the same color, Paul painted my Monte Carlo parts in Bob's top at the same time. After Paul and Nikki wrapped the top in masking paper and helped me load it up, I fired up the 64 and started making my way back home. I know Bob's been excited to see this Corvette all back together, painted and detailed. So I hightailed it home and had Tanner come out to help me put the top back on the Corvette. Once we got it unwrapped, Tanner set the top back on the car and then reinstalled the 4 bolts that attach it to the body. It only took about 15 minutes to put the top back on. And between the detailing work they did at Jack's Wax and the new paint work done on the top by House of Pearls, the car looked beautiful. But then 5 minutes after we set the top on, it started to pour down rain. So I had to wait until Thursday to take it up to show it to Bob. And since I had to go down and pick up Addie this morning so that she could help Vicky in the office, I offered to let her drive it the last few miles from Utica up to Bob's shop.
Stay off the rumble strips, kid.
Addie was really happy with the stereo and the air conditioning. I mean, what 15-year-old kid would not want to be driving around in a Corvette like this? Addie and I stopped for lunch on the way up, and we finally made it up to Bob's around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it turns out by the time we got there, Uncle Bob had some good news for us as well. As it turns out, the pistons that we've been waiting on for Billy's big block finally showed up. So by the time we got there, Bob had already calculated the bob weight and begun balancing the crankshaft. Guess what, Uncle Bob?
What's that?
Your Corvette is whole again.
Hey!
That look better?
Sharp.
Check out that new top.
Wow.
Didn't they do a nice job?
They did a beautiful job.
Yes, they did.
It's
So that's
hard.
actually a GM top. It didn't have a GM top on it when you bought it. It had an aftermarket plastic top, and I don't know what had happened to it, but evidently it had gotten dropped or broken and cracked.
I have no idea.
Yeah, they wrapped it to try and cover up all that mess, but it was too far gone. So I found somebody that had a top,
I know. That's just super.
and I found somebody to paint it.
It looks beautiful.
It's not a bad old car, really. Addie drove it all the way up here with the air conditioning blowing cold, didn't you, honey?
It's a nice old car.
So I think Billy's going to get ready to raffle this thing, I guess.
Yep.
I'll talk to him and see what he plans to do and when he plans to do it, but I think it's ready. So Billy's pistons finally came in, thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah, so Uncle Bob's going to work on putting Billy's big block back together. He's got it in the hone over here, and what are you doing, balancing the crankshaft now?
Yeah, it was now it's about 100 grams lighter.
Oh, these pistons are lighter.
Yeah.
Larger diameter, but they're lighter.
They're lighter and lighter, a little bit smaller in pins too.
Okay. So we got to rebalance the crankshaft, get the bob weights right on the crank. And I think Bob's just about got everything else done. The heads are ready to be back together, and
Just
just
gotta
gotta,
check clearances and stuff as we go back together.
yeah. So Billy's engine should be back together here pretty soon. Although it is filled block, and the heads, are the heads filled, Bob?
Yes.
The heads are filled.
We were talking about that.
Yeah, so
See right there?
yeah, they are filled. So the block's filled and the heads are filled, so we're not going to be able to fire it up on the dyno and make dyno pulls on it. We'll probably start it up and just make sure everything's okay, make sure it's not smoking, make sure we got good oil pressure and don't have any problems before we put it in the car. But as far as making dyno pulls on, I probably won't be able to do that up here because it doesn't have water in the block or the heads. So I don't even know how soon Billy's going to be able to race it anyway now. We're in a big hurry to get this thing done, and now Billy's kind of down and out. So it's life. It happens. At least we've got the parts now. We can get it put back together and move forward as soon as Billy's ready. Well, kid, what'd you think about driving the Corvette?
It was fun.
Okay, let's see. Rating, steering. Steer okay?
Yeah.
Brakes,
Yeah.
air conditioning.
Yeah.
I say air conditioning 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Although there's a lot of buttons in here and I don't understand what the hell all of them do.
Yeah,
like these right here.
ones,
Like, what the heck is all this? I don't know what that does.
we're too sped to know.
I can barely make the heater controls work in this thing. I can get the air conditioning to blow cold, but outside of that, I'm pretty much lost.
Yeah.
The stereo is good though.
Yeah.
What would you rate the stereo? 10 out of 10?
A 10 out of 10 because it has Morgan Wallen on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it's got good bass.
Yeah.
It does sound really good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of like this thing, but I don't know. I think Bob wants to go ahead and let it go. I don't know if we're going to be able to talk him into keeping it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Bob wants to. I guess he's going to have Billy raffle this thing off, and he wants to take the money and invest in some equipment. I think there's a fancy bore hone that he wants to buy that's fully automatic. Because Bob's got a kind of a bad shoulder. His shoulder bothers him a little bit. And the drone that he's, or the, not the drone, but the hone that he has, the hone that Bob has, you have to work it manually, and it's wearing out his shoulder. I think his shoulder's already wore out. But he's wanting to get rid of the Corvette and use that money to invest in some more modern equipment for the shop. So that's the plan. I'll talk to Billy when we get back to the house, see what he plans to do and when he plans to do them. Usually he just does them on Facebook, but we'll see. All right, everybody, welcome back. It is, I don't know, somewhere around 3 o'clock in the morning. This would be Friday morning. And I'm still out here working on this video, trying to get it finished up. You know, Billy is in a lot of pain. I know what he's going through. It's incredibly painful. He's on some pain medications that make him really drowsy. He comes out, he tries to work for a few hours, and then he'll go back in the house and lay down and go to sleep for a while. So unfortunately, he hasn't been out here a whole lot, and I don't really want to put a camera in his face and put him on video, because obviously he's upset and he doesn't feel good, and his face and his hair is all messed up, and so he's just not really comfortable being out in public right now or being on video a whole lot. But he did ask that I would remind everybody that if you're watching this, you'll be watching it on Friday. Today is Friday. And this is the last day to get entered to win the Mustang, the Pacecar. And, you know, he wanted to put a video out this week to remind everybody it's the last week. And then he got burned. So obviously he hasn't been filming a whole lot. And so this is the reminder that he asked me to give everybody. The drawing ends today, Friday the 28th. So if you want to get in on the giveaway for the Mustang, today's the day. You got to get entered before midnight tonight. You can go to streetracingchannel.com, pick up some merch, and that will still enter you for a chance to win the Mustang up until midnight tonight. The little Mustang runs pretty good. It's a nice street car. It's got air conditioning. It needs a little work here and there, but it's a pretty solid old car. Also, if you haven't seen it yet, the Street Racing Channel video, the last video they put up of the little truck winning the cash days. If you haven't seen that yet, it's a pretty good video. You might want to go watch that. We had a really good time out on the street with the local guys. We were very appreciative that we got invited to come. We very much appreciate that. You know, there's been a lot of shootouts that happen that we don't get invited to, and that's fine. We completely understand that. There's, you know, not every race is meant for everybody, you know, and we were fortunate enough to get an invitation to come to this one, and we understand that not every shootout is meant for everybody. There's a lot of people that get bent out of shape when they don't get invited, and they tend to want to shit all over everybody that is trying to, you know, race and have a good time just as friends. You know, they get bent out of shape because they didn't get invited, and they make out like everybody's scared of them and all that. And it's just a bunch of foolishness. It's just nonsense. You know, we understand that not every race is meant for everybody. You know, the guys that are starting at the bottom and trying to work their way up, sometimes they just like to have a little fun with their own group of people and have a good time, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We want to be very respectful to everybody involved. We want to be respectful to the people who put the race on, and we want them to know that we're very appreciative and we're honored, honestly, to be invited to come out and race with those guys. So if you haven't seen the video yet, go to Street Racing Channel's YouTube, watch that last video, because it's a really good one. It's the first time in a long time that me and my two boys got to go out and race, just the three of us, just our family. And It was kind of a bare bones crew. That video was made by basically just me and Tommy filming. And, you know, I was trying to also help Billy, you know, back the truck up and everything. So it's kind of a bare bones video, but it's kind of an OG video, honestly, the way it used to be. And I really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys will go watch that video and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Let Billy and Tommy and Allison and everybody know what you think. Make sure you check in with Allison and Tommy on Gen 2 Garage. They're working their tails off on that little Dakota to get it ready for roadkill nights, and that's a big deal for them. And I'm really proud of them. I'm thankful for Jeff, and I'm thankful for the opportunities that the kids are getting. Thank you to Summit Racing and everybody who has stepped up to help the kids on Gen 2 Garage. Good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. What are you doing, Addie?
Driving the Corvette.
And you're getting past.
Wow. These people, that's probably like a grandma or something. I think she wants gas.